Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Beacon of Leadership podcast. Again, I'm so excited. We've been in a phase where we are interviewing our Beacon inductees. So this is another Beacon interview. So I'm proud to present this one today. Again, we are your Beacon of Leadership. I am RJ Horner, Beacon of Life and Leadership.
I am Curtis Leong, Beacon of Positivity.
And shortly, hopefully, we'll be joined by our missing team member, Beacon of Team Empowerment, Linda Tilson. So she'll be along. Such is life. She had a meeting. She's running late. She's in the east or the west end of the country. So she has a meeting that's going to run probably later than 5 o'clock her time. But she gives us her condolences, and I'm sure she will join us as soon as she is able to. So again, we are excited to present this interview of our Beacon of Youth Empowerment, Irina Cregan. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you.
And I mean, people, if they've been watching our videos, if they've been involved in our community, they've already got to meet you. We held an event in January where people got to know our beacons. You got to share some of your message and some of your mission, really what you're working for. So I'm excited. Tell people a little bit more about Irina Cregan before we get into why this topic is so passionate for you.
Yeah, absolutely, RJ. My pleasure. So thank you once again. Thank you so much for having me tonight. It's an absolute pleasure and excitement to share what's been worked on in behind the scenes for my mission regarding youth empowerment. So who's Irina Cregan? Irina Cregan is an individual who's been living her 30 plus years in a very autopilot, very self-cognizant way in execution mode. So she didn't really know who she was because she only embarked on her transformational personal growth journey 3 years ago. So I immigrated to Canada 12 years ago. And I think I really haven't questioned a lot along the way what were my values, what were my beliefs, who was I really? So around the age of 25, when I came to Canada, I'd say that all of my fears and insecurities started surfacing. And I'm like, whoa, where is it coming from? So I started pivoting my career. I've graduated from 4 languages, and I had a very short career in teaching back home. And I had to basically change my trajectory and find a new way, I'd say, and a new career path. So I've started with an asset manager back in 2010, and then I've evolved into a different role. And I've been with a couple of organizations, and lately I've actually joined the best organization that's given me actually the absolute freedom to show up as my authentic self. 3 years ago, I embarked on my personal self-discovery journey, if I can say so, really digging deep inside, peeling the layers of the onion, and really finding out who Irina Cregan really was. So it took really tweaking a good chunk of the sets of beliefs and values that I've carried with me that were apparently not mine. They were passed along from generations and generations. So I've navigated life really as a maladaptive perfectionist, with very low self-esteem, high rigidity, kind of, a black or white lens, all or nothing. And here I am today, an individual who's constantly striving to improve, who's getting to know herself each day, committed to growing herself. And obviously my why is my daughter. Why I say obviously, because I know I have a 4-year-old, almost a 4-year-old. That is my why, and the reason why I have embarked on this self-discovery journey. and why I want to make a difference in her life and in the life of young people.
That is amazing. And, I know you're, again, you mentioned changing, you're learning about yourself, changing who you are, growing. And as far as that, I was listening to somebody today and they said, you know what, everybody has to change their identity every once in a while. And somebody even said Bob Proctor changed his identity 4 times in his lifetime. So, we know that people who are prominent, you know what I mean? They have to reevaluate themselves. They have to understand where they're coming from. And that's what the personal development lifestyle is all about. What has that growth journey been like for you personally? Where is it taking you from and to where you are now?
It's been actually very interesting. It's been a journey of self-awareness, of self-cognizance, of knowing, this is what I call actually the default states, that I go into. And, I'm so passionate about the theme of leadership. And I've myself experienced great leadership, and I know how it's made me feel and how it impacted my life. But when I personally, I'll be very honest here, when I personally was given the opportunity to lead, I haven't recognized this as opportunities to lead. And I have discovered actually like less pleasant things about myself. And those default states that I'm talking about is being as a maladaptive perfectionist that's navigated for 30 plus years life, is going into sometimes knowing that sometimes I expect, let's say, fairness. So when I work in a team, and this is my default state, is that I expect people to equally pull the weight, which actually never happens in life. It never happens in teamwork. So knowing this about me, oh my God, okay, so me as a maladaptive perfectionist, I do expect that. I do expect fairness, okay. I sometimes go into defensiveness, so defensive modes, which again, understanding that about me has allowed me to gain this self-awareness and change, do something about it, and recognize this. I was given opportunities to lead, and every single time I was given them, I've went into the default modes. But it's been powerful because I'm learning more and more about myself, and unveiling those blind spots, I guess, and eventually learning and evolving.
I love that you said that. And I used to be a perfectionist. I used to be the type person who
I
would
love the
rather
used to think, RJ.
absolutely, because we have to grow and evolve. We have to change our identity, like I just said. So I had to get past that. I used to be the type of person who I would rather not do something unless I was going to get it right. How did you get past that perfectionist
Mode.
yeah, that process?
I love the question, RJ, and thank you so much for sharing that, because I resonate 1000% with what you've shared. What has really, really helped me is that I was someone, and I used to be someone who was so focused on the end result, on the outcome, that I wouldn't really enjoy the process or really appreciate, I guess, the process. And I think the process, the implementation piece, is the most difficult, but the most rewarding and gratifying one. And I think understanding that it's all about evolution and progress. And I like to give this example. A mentor of mine has shared it with me, and I don't think if I've shared it with you before, guys, but I believe I did in one of the spaces. Mm-hmm. Is that this is an iPhone, and how Apple actually is operating is that it's been given us 14 versions of this. They never came up with a perfect product and said, hey, here it is. It has all the functionalities, all the features that you need. No, it came with every single year giving us an upgraded version, and even other upgrades we get on our phones, right? So that meaning is that, we evolve, we progress, yes. And that's how I'm seeing it. Yes. And, in the implementation process or part, you have people, humans you work with. So valuing those people and understanding the power of the collective, that's what's given me a lot of sense and purpose. And that's been actually one of the major breakthroughs I've had this last year.
Absolutely. And Curtis, 1 second, because you know what? Like you said, you have the iPhone 14, but let's not forget it started with the iPod, that little MP3
Oh, it did.
player that was obsolete almost as soon as they issued it, right? But it did get people thinking in this way that,
Forgot
oh my
about it.
God, I can have all my content with me and I can carry this with me in this little device. And that changed the world. I think it led the way for the smartphone, right? So,
Mhm.
but you're right.
Yeah.
There's perfection in all those imperfections. And then it's about that process that we go through and evolve as individuals, as a team, for products, for the creation that we have. My God, the evolution is amazing. So thank you for that. And then Curtis, I think you had a question that really kind of leads into this. So please go ahead.
Basically, that's awesome. Okay, so Irina, what inspired you to become an advocate for transformational leadership among young people, and how has your work impacted the lives of those that you reach?
Yeah, thank you. So I see two components. So basically, as I've mentioned, my daughter is my why. The why I have started actually myself, my own transformational journey and my self-growth journey, but as well my why based on the fact that this little human, and it's funny, I've written a post about it on LinkedIn that I posted a couple of days ago. This little human is gonna, around 20 years from now, is going to join the workforce. And I think all of us here sitting at this table tonight have experienced both like good leadership and toxic leadership.
Yeah.
And one, well, let's say 2 years ago, I've been in a really bad place. And it seems a little bit uncomfortable to talk about it, but it's the truth. Like, I mean, it's the truth, and the way I was treated at work, and I don't even know how is it even possible. And it's again a concept Bob Chapman. You know, I'm a huge fan of Bob Chapman cultures, and he's the author alongside with Raj Sisodia of Everybody Matters. And I've mentioned this before. Is that the way you lead impacts people's lives. So there's no way that at 5 p.m. when you take off your professional cape, there's no way that you don't take home whatever happened to you along the way. You know, if you had a bad day, or somebody treated you poorly, you're definitely bringing it at home. Or even worse, I don't know, maybe you're withdrawing, you're isolating yourself, you're not even speaking about it. So maybe it has even a let's say a worse impact on your mental health. Yeah, so I am still the same person with the same skill sets. I haven't changed. I was told 2 years ago that I was not sitting in the proper chair. And I'm still sitting in the same chair in a different environment, in a different organization. And I don't survive. I literally thrive every single day. An organization that allows me to show up as my authentic self, as my real self, and treasures, values me the way I am. And I truly feel cared for. And the fact that I show up every day makes a difference on my team. I feel like at least I'm making a difference on my team, and I do feel that I matter.
That's awesome.
Oh, wonderful. Absolutely. Yeah. And I love what you said about, you know what, you can't help but take home some of that toxicity that you're taking on during the workday, right? I don't know about you guys, but I'm a follower of Eric Thomas, E.T.
Yep.
I love him. And he tells a story about, when you go home at the end of the day, man, you're coming home, your little 4-year-old, she sees you and she sees mommy, right? And she's all happy and she's excited because she sees mommy, but she doesn't know all of the attitude and the aggravation and the frustrations that you've had to deal with today. All she wants is, a loving hug from mommy, but you might not feel that, right? He says, look, my job as a father, I have no other job but to pick him up. You know what I mean? No matter whatever I went through, I'm just to pick him up, give him a big hug, and show my boy love. Same thing.
Yep.
We've got to take home, like drop that at the door and bring home the love. Drop
Yeah, you
that
want to
toxicity.
adjust to the environment that you're currently going to go into and be that person that you want to be.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right? It's
Be a loving parent. Yeah.
You know that as well as anybody, Curtis.
Yeah.
How do you manage it, by the way?
I go to the gym regularly to burn off my problems.
Beautiful. And you
Oh.
know what? I think everybody out there needs those techniques. You know, sometimes that loving face that, you know, the child that we're coming home to, sometimes that helps, right? Even if it's the dog, you know what I mean? The dog who gives us unconditional love,
They do.
gives
They
us those
do. So
licks,
true.
and, you know, we need that. We need to drop those pounds, that, you know, stress that we're carrying on our shoulders, because that's how we destroy our youth. We destroy our next generation by taking that attitude home, right? So how do you, Karina, how do you make sure that you're there to pick your child up?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That's why the way we feel and the way the way we treat it in the workplace matters, actually. Because at the end of the day, again, it's going to impact the way we behave, we think, we interact, the way we create our relationships. I really believe in this. And that's why I'm saying I've been in toxic places.
Yep.
And what it translated into is literally an individual who comes home who's always anxious and depressed, and, you know, actually wonders and questions her motherhood role. Is she still a good mother? Does she deserve this or that? It was really like translating into having a pit in the stomach every single morning and unable to open a laptop, versus put in work cultures where people feel cared for, they matter, they're seen, they're heard, makes the entire difference. You go back home, you'll probably do the same to your spouse, you know, you'll probably want to work on your relationships with your friends, you know. So it has a much larger impact on our personal lives. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And that is the entire difference. That's why I think the skill sets of leading, and I don't talk here again about managerial skills, analytical skills, you know, debate, problem solving, nothing around that. But it's really the compassion, the empathy, and serving people needs to be taught early on. So when our young people when our youth were, you know, yeah, they're young still, right? When you're joining the workforce. But I believe the work should start earlier in school, somewhere maybe age 15, maybe 5-6 years before they join the workforce. Yeah. And then so they can go and they're prepared. They're prepared to lead in their work, in their places. Sorry.
Absolutely. I know I went to co-op when I was in high school. You know what I mean? But the funny thing is, co-op was only open to a select few. And so it only prepared those people who really, you know, who showed leadership potential, or they showed a, you know, aptitude for getting into business or something like that. So that it was kind of like the internship, the early internship, right? But we don't encourage that enough. When the, you know, people who are coming out of high school, going to join the workforce, we don't give them that free training or pre-preparation for joining the workforce.
Actually, there are
programs
now. There are programs out that actually teach kids that now to do co-ops more so than they used to, both at the high school and college levels.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
And trades are always an apprenticeship. So you always make money while you learn, while you earn, while you learn. Any trade out there will do that for you.
Very interesting. Yeah, I know some work under Bob Chapman Leadership Institute has been started in business schools, but I don't know how much it's spread in schools, you know. And again, if it's only started, like how many of schools are involved in this program, how we can, you know, make it broader, or you know, make sure it has a larger impact, because I think it's it's definitely like should be a worldwide, you know, thing. Linda's joining us. That that will be able to transform the world we live in. Because I know, as I said, all the beacons in this group, we all have one mission in common. We want to make this world a better place.
Yep,
absolutely.
100%.
So, are we joined by Linda, our beacon of team empowerment? Is she ready to join us?
She's probably just signing in.
Or she's probably got to finish the last couple minute details, because she had an amazing question that would fit in here well. I'm not sure. I guess you read her questions beforehand, because you kind of touched upon this. Linda, do you have your questions in front of you?
I do.
You want to ask her that first question, because I love it, and she just kind of touched upon it here.
Absolutely. So the question that I really wanted to ask is, why or what skills do you feel are underdeveloped in our companies and organizations? Because I think that sets a big stage for the work that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys know that I've partnered with Linda last year for a workshop her and myself have done in one of the schools back home in Moldova. So we've seen, like usually when you reach out to leaders and it's not to be negative or anything. It's just like you reach out, and it's like, no, it's okay. We have leadership courses already. And then you find out, yeah, they have, and they have great stuff they teach students, like debate and problem solving and all sorts of analytical skills and critical thinking. But what is missing out there is really teaching our youth empathy, how to hold space for people, how to listen to people, how to contribute to those trust-forming relationships. How do you actually gain one's trust? How do you but most importantly, I think, yeah, we're taught in schools, and again, back to Bob Chapman, we're taught in schools how to answer, how I'm gonna we're all like in the answer mode, what I'm gonna answer, what I'm gonna say. And going back to the self-cognizance and the introspection pieces of the work that I'm doing, RJ, that we're talking about earlier, even I have caught myself, and I felt so bad. Me, who's doing the entire, self-growth work. I'm intentionally, setting up my routine for growth and everything. And still I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they were sharing something that I was in disagreement with. And all I thought about while the lady was sharing is like, what is my argument? Where is my argument? I fundamentally disagree with it. So like then I caught myself after, and I'm like, oh my God, I was given the opportunity to listen and I failed. But it's glad that at least I've learned, or I was able to identify it this way, and I'm someone who is intentionally working on herself, you know what I mean? So we don't teach, like, what do you do, how do you listen to people, and how do you really tap into that, because it's within us. I'm sure you have to get in some sort of mode in which you just connect with a person. How do you do it? We don't teach that. So I think this is the basis of leadership, being able to listen without judgment, interruption, and be able to connect with people and serve people. It's not, we don't work for the bosses, it's the other way around. Top leadership works for us and make sure that all conditions are encountered so people can actually flourish within the organizations.
Absolutely. And then Linda, if you ask your last question, because that it fits in well with what she's just said.
Oh, can I wanted to add on to
No,
what
go ahead.
Irina said, because it really struck a chord before I go into my last question. You mentioned that here I am and I'm working on myself and I'm promoting leadership, and you caught yourself in that moment where you weren't listening to understand another perspective. You were listening to have your say in it. And that actually, says a lot about you and your character. And, if we have trouble as leaders catching ourselves in those moments, it's because we have that awareness that we've learned along the way. And that's what you want to instill in the youth, is how do you nurture and develop that skill? Because even as an adult, it can be hard. Mm-hmm. And I caught myself today in a situation. And so I'm going to share it. And then I'm going to go back to the last question. But imagine that as a leader, sometimes somebody shares something with you and you just want to go into fix-it mode. Oh, I went into fix-it mode. And then it was brought to my attention. I just want you to listen to me. They just want you to listen to them. I had it from the person and observer. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just needed to not diminish what they were saying. And the reason in my head was why I was diminishing and not trying to was because I wanted them to be empowered, make an empowered choice on how they could respond and react to the situation. So I was trying to steer them in that direction. But what I did was a disservice because I didn't acknowledge that they were in that space to begin with. I went to solution mode and I wanted to carry them through that space rather than allowing them to have that moment, to have that thought, to have me acknowledge that they're in this place. And so I even get it wrong. But you're right. As leaders, we catch ourselves, and I apologized.
So if I can interject, because I'm in the same boat. Look, I've been at this 10 plus years of my professional development, growth. Okay. So I've been at this a long time, but I'm not perfect at it. You know what I mean? I still make mistakes, a lot of mistakes. Sometimes I even cut off our team when we're trying to, work on some stuff. I'm not perfect. So even it was brought to my attention this week, you know what? Shut up and listen. Right. Because look, we all want to have those thoughts. We're all, like you said, Arena, we're having that argument in our head, and we're not giving that person enough time to finish their thought process. Or like Linda says, maybe that person had an answer, right? They had a solution they were trying to talk through, and she's trying to guide them in a certain direction, but not listening, not paying attention to the conversation and the flow of the argument. So please go and ask your next question.
All right. So I want to know, what is your strategy behind your mission to empower tomorrow's youth?
Mhm.
What is it that you're working towards? Can you share that with us?
Absolutely. So I'm in the
Mhm.
most exciting yet the most fearful and most difficult phase, which again, earlier we're sharing, is the implementation piece, and is the how. I know the what, I have the why. It's really the how piece, and how am I gonna produce it? What's my how? So how am I gonna deliver it? My argument, my audience. I'm really trying to figure out that. And there's, again, different ways of doing it. I'm still kind of navigating how am I going to package it. And again, we were talking earlier that some of this humanistic leadership modules or work is already being carried out in business schools. I still haven't heard a lot. Curtis mentioned about some work done in schools or
Yep.
co-ops. I haven't seen really earlier, like age 15, 16 in schools, Linda, this type of work being done. So I think that should be catered to schools, students aged 15, 16. And as I guess it should be what you call it? I don't have the word. It's not a mandatory course, but it's an optional. This is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Optional.
Elective.
Elective. That's what you call it. Yeah,
Yeah.
elective. Yeah, exactly. And again, RJ, it's very interesting. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes we tend to categorize and say, oh, this child or this student or this young man or woman like have displayed some sort of capability or maybe capacity or whatnot. But again, there's a lot of young people who just have the willingness. And we know this is the most important component in leading, is having really the willingness to go and lead. So how do those people have, equal opportunities to being able to learn how to lead? Because it's not something we're born with, it's really something we're capable of integrating and learning. So I guess just equal opportunities to youth to be able to have access to that.
Yeah.
And again, it's probably taking the shape of a module. I don't necessarily see it as a course. I see it in multiple workshops and courses happening over time. And there's a lot, again, there's a lot of parts and pieces of leadership.
Mhm.
I'd start with really the self-cognizance part and the self-growth part, and the fact that you're committed to your own growth before being able to lead and grow others. So, and all the other pieces. But as I said, I'm in the most exciting and gratifying phase, which is figuring out the how.
Yeah, you're in the conceptual phase. You're put together a concept based on something you see. And so you got to validate with your potential avatar customers what this will look like. And so, you've got it right. You start with students that are 15, 16 years old. I think that's a great place as they're going through that development before they hit 18. So I think that's great. And partnering with the teachers, I think will make a big difference, because if you see this and they have observations on what they see as teachers, and then you got the parents in the mix, you get all of those groups together and you have those conversations, the conceptual framework of the how, it'll come together once you've asked a lot of those questions and put it into a plan. And you're right. In any project, the how is the hardest part, because it's really easy to say what you want as your future output or goal or result. And you can easily say where the current state is, but it's like, how do you build and implement a plan that'll get you from A to Z in the way that people want to receive it and have the biggest bang for its buck as far as the investment.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, it's as well, do you create a product in which you'll be delivering this type of work, or will you be training others? And it's a product which comes like a package, like a turnkey solution to institutions, and then they're able to train the people or do it themselves. Again, it's all about the how.
And I will say, I don't think there's any turnkey solutions. There really never is, because everybody's situation is different. Everybody, no matter whether they may come from similar backgrounds with similar problems, the individual thought process, the individual personality, they're all different. So there's never, I don't think there's a turnkey solution, and I know you'll develop it. I know you'll figure out how that delivery will come, because again, how do you reach each one as an individual? So that was going to be one of my questions, is how do we reach to teach our young adults and teens today? How do we get connected with them?
By listening, I think, once again, by listening what is important to them. What I loved about the work Linda and I did, and Linda has been a major part of it, obviously, is that we allowed them. We wanted like this is the thing. We didn't want to come with some presentation and come up with some theoretical aspects, and just go slide by slide and talk and, take space and say, hey, we are the experts. We've been in the corporate world all together probably for a long time. We have years and years of experience. But what we did instead, and I love, this is a concept that Linda has shared, and that's actually what's worked and actually in practice, is that we created a space for them to ask us questions. We created as well the space for them for listening to really what is important to them. And we've found out some fascinating stuff about those students. They had pretty good questions on Linda. Some of them, they're super young, but they're working already on some project ideas, some project management, and some side gigs that they were considering. It's quite impressive. It's quite impressive to be able to connect with the social media generation, a generation that is wired in such a different way. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Linda, to this, but I think it's just really like listening and allowing them to share what is important for them.
Yes. One of the things that I thought was very interesting is, a lot of times we think of those hard skills, all the technical aspects, but they were bringing up some personal self-development, soft skills that they wanted to develop in. And one of the things that came up was they really wanted to be convicted, and they wanted to be assertive in their thinking or speaking ability, but they felt like they were coming across as aggressive or bossy. And I thought, well, wow, to notice that maybe they really want to work on their delivery so they can come across, so people will listen to what they have to say and be respectful of what they have to say. I thought that was really huge for that young of audience, that they were bringing that to the table, because I think that was one of the things that we had identified in the work that we do, or just being in an organization. It's the communication relationship skills that need most developed, I believe, because the how. Yeah.
I want to ask my next question then, because this is exactly, you led right into it, because many people say our millennials, the youth who are just taking the workforce and becoming involved, and they say they're expectant or entitled. You know what I mean? That's the attitude, at least from the older generation. What are your thoughts? Are they entitled, or are they just looking for a place and want that respect? How do we give them that?
Yeah. Well, that's a very nice reflection, RJ. I'm a millennial, actually. And this is number one thing that I've always disagreed with Simon Sinek on, millennials being entitled. I never felt that I'm entitled about anything, actually. And the thing is that, and I don't know if it's a millennial thing, I think it's more like of a human universal need, is we want to be part of something, and when we talk about workforce and work cultures, is millennials, if we talk about millennials, but as well all humans want to be part of the mission and the vision. I think the previous generations, they had a different leadership model, and it's unfortunate. It was based on fear, on authority, on a lot of the hierarchy, and how they were brought up, I guess. I'm not sure, but millennials, they want exposure to senior executives a lot more than the previous generations. They had a different concept or idea around leadership, or have experienced leadership in a different manner.
Mhm.
So that's maybe the difference. They really want exposure to senior executives. And I've spoken even with younger people than I. It's a 10-year difference. And when you connect with them, you hear them saying, I want to run into the VP at the gym, or if I go to the cafeteria, I hope they're there so we can go grab lunch together and talk. I was actually very surprised in hearing that. And I
Yep.
remember at the time, I think we were as well on a call like this, Linda, I've said, I can't be the senior executive for someone, but I probably could make a difference by grabbing a lunch with them and just, have a conversation with them. This is when I committed to be that, colleague that creates space for conversation. So I think this is what millennials are, and younger people even more. I think even more. They have the desire to have this communication with senior management and senior executives. And as I said, I was as well, I think sharing the day when we had our mastermind, when we met all together, all the beacons. Statistically, we think that younger generations don't want to talk, they want to text. It's not even true, apparently. Statistics show that they are willing to talk, but again, they kind of want to bypass the whole chain of command, and they want to go directly to the senior executives. Again, this is what I was reading about. So
Yeah, no, I love it because look, that I think you have something to say, Curtis. Also,
I think she's right about that. This will be listened to. That's very good. But the thing is, though, a lot of millennials look at more things than we were exposed to, so they know more things. They know that if they go to the higher people, have lunch with them, and talk to them, they're gonna learn more than just the average person. And I think when we were kids, it was like, who would ever thought that we could talk to somebody like that? But we never have that exposure. But people see other people that can do it, so therefore, it's like they see the videos, they see them talking to those people, and say, hey, I can probably do this too. So they have the mindset of that I can do it, and they try to achieve it in whatever way it takes, right? So the upcoming youth are a little bit more exposed to things that environments that most of us probably were never exposed to before. Because I'm sure, RJ, when you did your co-op course, you probably learned a lot more than the average person in your school that didn't do it, right?
Yeah,
They didn't become somebody. So
yeah, we get exposure. So, and that's the thing. Like, again, we grew up in different generations, right? I know I was told children are to be seen and not heard, right? We weren't allowed to have a voice. We weren't allowed to be contributors. But yet the millennial generation and the kids behind you as well, Irina, they're learning different things that the times have changed. We're not taught to, be utilitarians anymore. We're taught to be contributors. And that's, I think, what the millennials and everybody else want. They want to be connected to the vision. They want to be part of the mission and know their part in it, right? They want to know the value of their contributions.
absolutely.
It's part of a tribe mentality, I think.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I would add that they also really desire and want regular, consistent feedback. That is a need that is it's very present in the workforce. I see it all the time. And when they don't have access to management or leadership to get that feedback, they don't feel as connected. So that changes the way that management and leaders have to lead, because if they're not giving feedback, then that's that thing that's really desired. They're not going to connect on the same level. And honestly, that's a human need to receive feedback.
Yeah.
But the millennials definitely, they want that more than anything. Right after that being known and recognized for being the contributors.
Absolutely. And there's another thing is the managers who have, you know, put in those positions, who may still be in those positions, they don't give that respect. They don't give them the time to nurture or, you know, give feedback and allow them to feel like they're playing a part. There's still something missing, right? So Curtis, your last question kind of fits well in here. I would love to hear Irina's answer for that.
Sure. How can we create more equitable and just society by empowering young people with the skills and knowledge they need to become effective leaders? And what role do you see yourself playing in this effort?
But once again, please, Curtis, the first
Yep,
part of your question,
sure.
I'm
So
not
how
sure I
can-
understood it.
So how can we create a more equitable and just society to empower youth so that they get the skills and knowledge they need to become effective leaders? And what is your role that you think you can do to help them achieve that?
Yeah.
So don't worry about your role just for a second, but how can we empower the next generation? What's missing? How can we make it more equitable?
I think what's really missing is the collective mindset. I think especially in North America, because I come from a little bit more collective culture society. I think it's a very individualistic. This is still like North America is still a very individualistic society, you know, and we come with that spirit of competitiveness and, you know, self-sustainability. You know, how am I gonna achieve success? How am I gonna, you know, get up the ranks in the organization? And I've experienced it within my toxic relationship, in which normally when you sacrifice your own self-interest and you care about the good of the group, of the community, of the collective aspect of it, it's that, you know, like, how do I see it? And it's working actually, because Bob Chapman was able to implement it at Barry Wimmeler. Is that I do see senior colleagues in roles of mentors and coaches, and I see, like, if I am sharing with you a problem, and, you know, we were saying, you know, don't shoot the messenger cultures, you know. If I'm sharing with you, we have a challenge, we have a problem, that's been very negatively perceived by my senior colleagues, as if I'm always the one that is bringing the problems, and, you know, but, like, I think we should celebrate those people that, you know, bring the problems to the table and that find and identify the challenges. This is actually great. We should be the representatives that move these challenges and this problems identified, I guess, to the upper management, and we try to come up with a solution. So again, is working hand in hand, working collectively together. It's been always, again, better. It has an influence on psychology, on the way we live, we interact, we behave, we think, rather than just focusing on our own interests, if that makes sense. I think this is what's missing. Teaching the collective aspect in schools as well. So when leaders are coming into the workforce, they have a collective mindset, actually, and they know how to organize teams and create those safe environments for teams to thrive, and recognize that the effort is collective, it's not individual.
Perfect.
That looks good.
Perfect.
And then how do you see yourself in that role? Like, how,
Well,
like, are you building a course to help the kids, or are you doing like leadership programs or something?
yeah, it's definitely part of the work that I'm currently working on, for sure. And what I love about it as well is that I'm evolving and progressing. I am as well practicing as much as I want to teach others to do it. I'm doing it in a very practical manner every single day. So, and alongside with you guys, because I love the fact that we're vulnerable here, because it's true that most of you maybe have already leading positions in which you have teams that you are leading each day, you know, and it's quite powerful to see a leader actually apologize when they have caught themselves going into that mode of fixing, as you've mentioned earlier, Linda.
Absolutely. It's hard to catch. So, and then Linda, you have one more question that kind of fits in here because it's really about, we're talking about empowering, we're talking about trying to reach the youth. So you have one more question that kind of fits well in here.
Yes, and so we're going back to the how a little bit, but I had thought about this for quite a bit, and I thought, well, what is missing in today's classroom curriculum when preparing youth for their future in the workforce? And I think we've touched upon it in some
Exactly,
ways,
we
but
did,
there
yeah.
definitely is I can visualize, and I know that you visualize it.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think what is missing as well is we've talked about it. So it's basically teaching them listening skills, teaching them leadership skills like empathy, compassion. But as well, I think there should be a way of, I was thinking about it, Linda, I really want to know your thoughts on it, there should be a way of practicing it as well. Again, how does it look like, right? Like, I was really thinking like there should be a way, exercises, workshops, spaces where they truly, get to practice. They listen to each other, and then they don't listen from that challenging energy kind of channel, but you really listen to understand, and there has to be a pragmatic aspect to it for them to practice it along the way.
I love
Oh,
that. First
you're
of all,
right.
yeah.
Mhm.
1 second, Linda. First of all, I think we need to start teaching them like a project-based curriculum. You know what I mean? Not about the grades so much, but here's a project. Here's what you need to work on. Let's go see how you do. And then, yeah, you grade them, you give them feedback on it, but project-based instead of can they answer the questions on this quiz? You know what I mean? It's there. I think we're failing there. And then, some teachers are good at effective at delivering this, but like you said, maybe some community outreach opportunities where they're taking those ideas they have and going out there and implementing it in society and see how well they do. Look, carry it forward, right? To take it to the community and see where they go with it. I think that's an element that could be a game changer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead, Linda.
Yeah, I'm thinking about what RJ said. I'm thinking about what you've shared. And honestly, the best way to have the ability to learn a new skill and to build it is to practice. So I'm like, yes. And I thought, well, why not have like a capstone development program where you have a project or you are put into a team and you have to learn about the concepts of how to form the team and then how to communicate
I love
to
this.
the team. And you just take them through either a real or a made up list of
exercises or something.
of exercises that take them through that. And you know what better way to learn than to use something that's real, so that you could have them pick something that they want to put out to the community. It doesn't have to be big, but you would say, well, what does it take when you're picking out your team to go do this thing? What are the things you have to consider? What does a person on a team do when they don't agree? Things that really truly happen, and making a safe space to be able to have that happen. You put them into little dyads and triads, and you have someone being the observer, someone that's being the recorder, somebody that's actually doing, and then you have them rotate roles. That way they don't all get used to being presenters or the person that always takes the notes. They get to try out all the roles. So it's a combination of a project through a capstone program and then exercises blended in that teach the different competencies as they go.
Cool.
Yeah, I love this. Oh my God. Oh yeah. Even when RJ said project, sometimes we're assigned a project and there's, again, pieces to it and humans that are involved, right? And phases of it. And I know I've experienced myself. I have, we all have friends or acquaintances that are part of it. And you hear them share basically how they struggle with different pieces. How do I make this accountable? How do I get this to meet the deadline? How do I talk to this? How do you communicate this? And I think this is great. Actually, you can, again, teach the skills by having them play this type of roles. And like this, again, there's so many advantages to it. They're so way better equipped when they finally join the workforce. There's so much value in this.
And while we were having this discussion, my mind was just flowing with some ideas. And one thing I could just imagine that could be a project we create, who knows? But imagine, you know what, at the age of 15, 16, 17, when they're just about to go into the workforce, instead of training them to take over some job somewhere, you know what I mean? To find that part-time job at McDonald's, perhaps we empower them to create XY Acme Corporation, you know what I mean, and build their team, and we work with them, we nurture them, as that overseer, as that somebody who can give them an opinion, guide them in the right direction. Maybe we empower them to take over, and build their own corporation out of the box, you know what I mean, before they're even graduated high school. Because like I said, I believe kids can earn money at any age. I've heard of a 3-year-old who has their own
Yeah,
business.
wow.
So there's no real cap on when you can build your own business.
Need the
So I
right
can
people to
imagine
help
that.
you.
Right. So that could be a
Yeah.
project that you can use taking forward to help empower our youth.
For sure. Entrepreneurship, I think this is one of the most powerful allies, basically, again, to go get to know who you truly are. I have a friend actually that has given up on her corporate career, and she started her own entrepreneurship
Mhm.
journey. And at the time when she was sharing, she started her self-cognizance kind of a journey a lot before me. And I could tell like she was going through different type of okay, peeling the onion, the layers. I couldn't understand her at the time. I now resonate with whatever she was sharing years ago. But it's beautiful. I think this is the opportunity as well to get to know who you are. I think entrepreneurship offers you that possibility as well, and it transforms you basically as a human. So I think it gives better leaders to the society.
Absolutely. It gets us to expand our capabilities, right? To think outside the box, as we're told to do, right?
Yeah.
Or create your own box in many cases. So I love that. So I have one more question for you, and we'll see if the team has anything else after that. But so it leads into, what can we as adults, how can we serve our youth today?
It's a question for me, RJ.
Yes, absolutely. I want to know
Yeah.
what the experts answer. How can we look, you and I and the team here, maybe we have some great ideas, but for the people out there who maybe aren't connecting with their youth, they, like they said, they think their teens are expectant, and, because they've got a cell phone at the age of 12, and that's their, how they've lived their life. They're not connected to their youth, right? What can they do to connect and engage their youth?
Listen to them. Again, I'm a broken record. Listen to them. We often, again, maybe bypass or, maybe don't consider their opinions or their experience, because we say you're young, you haven't been exposed yet to, real life situations. I think she says, Mama, listen, Mama, look at me, listen. And I know that I have to take my time and listen and consider that she's, made some desserts, in her own way, or she loves really arts and crafts. Oh my God, she loves it. She's going to create something that she's going to share. I think connecting is listening, is really taking the time to give them this time and create spaces for them to feel heard, seen, valued, important. Again, going back to mattering, the act of mattering, that they have value, that they are important. I'm repeating myself.
No,
I'm
listen.
just reflecting at the same time about it.
The way to learn things is repetitive, right? That's what they teach us in subliminal advertising. By mentioning my brand 20 times during a commercial, you're going to learn what my brand is all about, right?
Or remember the name of it.
And you live, but listen, you know what? I say all the time, communication is the master key. Well, the number one key to communication is listening, right? And our youth, our teenagers, our young adults, they have a lot to say if we just shut up and listen.
Exactly. How often do we see parents, and it's not to judge anyone, maybe on certain days I'm like that as well, that just want to grab the child and take them to the car, and that's what I see all the time in the daycare. I literally sit down on the little bench where I dress her up, And we have a couple of moments in which she's going to tell me how her day was. Was it a good day, a bad day? What did she do? And she's always sharing, her drawings and what she's created and she's done, and I always take the time. I'm in no rush. Yeah. To listen to her.
And I love what you just said, those two words. You said you're in no rush. Because let's face it, in this modern times, we're all in a rush, right? We're all too busy to worry about what she has to say. And I think just we have to slow down, pay attention, and give them the time of day.
Again, going back to the set of beliefs of values. If your value is to spend time with your family, and that's what you say, I value family. Well, this is what it looks like, right? At the end of the day, it looks like that, and not rushing to work or whatever, if this is what you value. It depends on whatever you want to create and do in the world. But I've said to myself, family is important for me. I want to make sure I'm creating time to spend with my family. So then it does translate in this type of practical situations.
Absolutely. And so I've heard it once that, look, tell me your top 3 values and I'll tell you if you're living life accordingly, right? Usually we'll say faith, family, and quality time or something like that. And then, okay, so when was the last time you went to church? Right? Because quite often, it was about a year or so ago, Oh, okay. So what is your children up to? Where are your children right now? Oh, well, they're off with friends. They usually go spend the evenings with, so and so. So already your faith's out the window, your family is out the window. Okay, so when's the last time you went on a date night? Oh, well, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, right? So you put your values out there, but quite often we're not in tune with those values that we truly think we believe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So guys, we've had a great interview. We had a lot of questions. Yep. We've learned a lot about Irina and her mission. We've helped walk her through, and the people out there walk her through the work that she is doing. Do you guys have any thoughts or wrap-up questions for her?
I think she covered everything that I was thinking of anyway. Good. Thanks, Irene, for being here today.
Thank you to all of you.
And what I'm thinking is I can't wait to see the how get implemented.
Yes.
Excited. For
I'm
sure.
behind that 150%.
I know, Linda, and I really appreciate it. And I'm so happy to be part of this community, guys. It means the world. Thank you so much for your support.
And you know what? I very much envision us as part of that how. We're here to help unwind that for you. Suzanne, who we had an interview with 2 weeks ago, she's got a great, powerful mission that I'm looking forward to. Look, I've talked about us connecting on masterminds. I want to see how we can do that because I very much envision us as part of that how. We're going to help figure out how to get to them and unwind this mission and being able to deliver that to the people out there. So
fantastic.
Irina, thank you for joining us for the interview today, but thank you for being a beacon, for shining your light on the youth out there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, guys. This has been another episode with the Beacon of Leadership. Again, I am RJ Horner, Beacon of Life and Leadership.
I am Curtis Leon, Beacon of Positivity. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell there on YouTube for us, please.
And I am Linda Tilson, Beacon of Team Empowerment.
And that line still, Curtis, always brings a smile to my face. Don't forget to ring the bell. So that's us today, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've learned something. I hope there's been tremendous value again in one more of our episodes. So thank you for joining us. And until next time, better days ahead.